So look, it can spin this way.
Yeah.
And when I made this new piece, I made it stick out further because when I originally built this, the filing cabinet didn't exist and I could rotate it all the way around. And when I put the filing cabinet in, it was hitting. There's actually a rub mark here. So I built this one further enough out that I can spin it any way I want. Okay, here's the deal. I built this bench about 5 years ago, and I don't know, 6 months later, I added this vise that I bought off a guy on Facebook Marketplace. I never thought that a wooden mounted vise with just a simple triangle frame would actually hold up. And I beat on this vise, and the wood never cracked or anything. So when I moved these filing cabinets, I had to take the vise mount out. Because I'm one-armed, I need the vise as a helping hand. So here I am putting it back together. I actually kind of shot this as a B-movie where I didn't really move the camera much, and I just thought it might be interesting for someone to see the process of adding it back in. The big mistake on the original vise mount was that the wood wasn't wide enough. In fact, in this video, I forgot to buy wood, so I actually took one of the ramps for putting my tractor on the trailer and cut 2 feet off of it for this video. In fact, as of today, I still haven't replaced the wood, but I'm gonna. So when I built this one, it's the exact same style as the original one. What makes it really strong is that the triangular frame is bolted together with heavy lag screws. They're like 4 inches long and 3/8 of an inch in diameter. Then that whole frame is both screwed to the wall, which I happen to know is a bunch of heavy framing that supports the header in the garage. The other thing I did to keep it from twisting, if you look in the background, you'll see a 2x4 extending off to the right. What I actually did when I built the bench is I knew I was going to have a vise there, so I ran a 2x4 long. And so the bench frame is a second mounting point so that the vise doesn't wobble left to right slightly. When I lag screw this frame into that as well, this thing is absolutely rock solid. The big change here was simple. I cut the wood to stick out far enough that I could rotate the vise 300. So the way I do this kind of stuff is I shoot a couple of small drywall screws to hold it to the wall. Then I come back and drill a much larger hole and shoot the actual lag screws into the jack studs behind the drywall. And here the sequence is pretty fast, but what I did was I drilled a small 1/8 inch hole, then I came back with a 1/4 inch, and then I finally came back with a 3/8. And the reason you do it that way when you work up in hole size is that keeps the location of the hole exactly where you want it. because I need to hit the middle of the 2x4 on the wall and then the 2x4 that goes all the way across the bench. I need these holes to be in a very specific spot. Doing it this way ensures that they're in the correct location. Here you can see the really heavy leg screws I'm shooting through the top into the support members.
Child, Eva.
My favorite daughter, and I have a favorite son. His name is James.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna demonstrate this vise.
Yeah.
So what does it do? Can it spin?
Yeah.
This was originally going to be the explanation of how much I love this vise, but since I did a video on this recently, I just skipped past all this talking because that video covers the topic much better. I originally built this. All three of the screws holding this down are just threaded into the wood. And I thought if they ever tear out, I'll just put bolts in, but they never did. I don't wail on this thing. I use it as a helping hand, just like the other vise. The leg screws I used, I did 4 in the back and 3 in the bottom. These are 4-inch long by 3-inch diameter leg screws, pretty beefy. This wall is full of jack studs that support the header in my garage. So there's plenty of meat to bolt into. So I'm getting about that much thread bite into the jack studs, not going anywhere. You saw earlier I shot a couple screws into this notch out because I was afraid it might crack over time, so that should help reinforce the wood a little. And then I used a couple 4-inch screws holding these angle brackets down, which I just reused from the old vise. Doesn't have to be super strong. It just needs to be good enough. It's not going anywhere. The extra long screws I use are actually the ones from my shelving video. I'll put a link to that. These I used so I didn't have to drill a pocket hole. So I had some leftover ones, so I used them here. So when I attached the angle brackets, I shot 1 4-inch screw on each connection, and then I just did extra 3-inch screws. So very strong. So I'm not worried about it. So now I can put my welding table away so my wife can pull her car in the garage. So, thanks for watching! Eva did a great job of being my on and off helper on this day. This project probably took me about 3 hours total. I find when I'm not in a hurry, I do a much better job. The table I was working off there is actually my welding table. It's 3 foot by 5 foot and it was amazing. enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. I love you, Eva.